Even when I went and approached the bank, I remember, to get the loan to build the building, I had a difficult time to do it. Customer service is so important. It doesn't matter what field you are in.
So the innovation gives you that competitive edge.
Oh yes, definitely, 100%. I'd say innovation and customer service.
Going back over your journey, like if you were to do certain things differently based on what you've learned, what would those key points be?
I would say...
Welcome to today's episode of our podcast here today. I've got a very exciting guest, Nibal Askar, who is the founder of APA Archery, a very innovative and unique company. And I'm sure that you will wonderfully enjoy the story here today. So Nibal, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to have you on the show because I know we've known each other for a couple of years now. And, we've had the opportunity to work with you on the current website for APA Archery and so forth. But I would love to know more about your backstory because I think that you have a very interesting story in how you started the business many years ago. So just maybe shed some light as far as how you started APA Archery and what made you start this company.
Well, I have to say archery has always been my passion. I enjoyed it since I was a young kid. Even at the age of maybe 8-10 years old, I was already making a bow out of a stick and a string kind of thing. And from there, I moved on to taking a fishing rod, actually, using the lower section of the fishing rod and made a bow out of it.
Nice.
And the top section, made an arrow out of it. So, and then from there, we transitioned to a recurve style bow. And then I remember I was in high school, maybe grade 11, something like that. Maybe I was around 15, 16. And my friend had a compound bow. That was the very first time I saw one. And we ended up making a trade. I actually traded a gold ring that I got from my father towards this compound bow. So needless to say, my dad wasn't very impressed about this trade. So it got me into the compound bow. Then it wouldn't even fit me properly. I bought it. I didn't know anything about it. So it was too long a draw length for me. So I took it to shop class and I started modifying it and trying to make it work for my draw length and managed to make it work. So I've always liked archery, I guess. And then at the time, we were always involved. My parents were, my father was a school principal originally, and my mom was a school teacher. But then they got into the restaurant industry. So that's what we grew up with. So we were involved in the restaurant industry. And I think that helped me a lot with customer service, I guess, because you're dealing with many people, many different scenarios all the time. And I feel that kind of help us today even, because the knowledge that we learned from that industry, you could say, right? Yeah, so that led us to, we ended up moving to bigger Saskatchewan right around 1990 or so.
Right.
I was actually on a hunting trip and we stopped to have a coffee and there was a nice restaurant in Bigger. We ended up buying that restaurant. So we ended up living there for a while and then got married shortly after, or maybe very close about that same time. So after that, I guess you could say I was doing archery kind of as a hobby and working in a restaurant.
Archery was your passion, right?
It was, yeah. So any spare time I had was I was out there shooting my bow or hunting or doing something like that. Now, I had an opportunity come to me. There was Bear Hills Development at the time approached me. They said there was an archery small business that happened to be in town that was available for sale, and they provided a $5,000 loan, I imagine, is what it was. And then I was able to purchase that business and had a little home business at home. We set up a little room in the basement, maybe 10 feet by 11 feet.
Nice.
And we started a shop called Al's Precision Archery. They used part of my first name for that.
And that's where the name APA comes from?
That's right. Yeah. So the pro shop, I guess, we called it a little pro shop. I would just fix up my own bows, my friends' bows. And then eventually we do a few trade shows in Saskatchewan here just to let people know that I can do this. And it was just a part-time deal. Like my main income was still working at the restaurant.
Right.
So anything I made from it was just to cover expenses for my own leisure, for fun, more than anything else, But it started becoming more and more busy. More people learned about it. I was really good at tuning bows and eventually my wife and I sat down and it was becoming kind of a little bit of a inconvenience having people walk through your house. At first it's okay because your friends and so on, they come over and you work on their equipment. But then you start getting, people that you don't know
That's
walking
right.
through the house to get the equipment service and that. And then we had to make a decision. Kathy, my wife, she's the person that always kind of pushed me to. I would have to say, without her encouragement,
Right.
I don't know if I would have took the step to leave the restaurant industry, because I was really, I was good with that part of it too, right? I did a good job and I enjoyed that work as well. But it wasn't something that I really enjoyed doing, you know what I mean? So she encouraged me to maybe try to take it to the next level, maybe we'll open up a building on Main Street, set up a pro shop where people aren't coming at home to do all that, right?
And that must have been a very tough decision, though, because you were stable, you were working on a restaurant that was successful, that was, that you were really good at as well. But you had to kind of feed your passion project and start this in a big way and dedicate yourself to that, right?
Definitely. It was a tough time, actually. It was a very difficult decision to do, because you're doing something that can definitely support you and you're used to it. Now you have to leave it and venture into something totally new. You're not sure if it's going to be enough to support your family and make a business out of it, right? And we lived in a small community. There's only, I think it was like 2,500 people in bigger Saskatchewan. So you definitely had to rely on bringing people in from a long distance to be able to maintain a business like that,
Right.
So that was definitely a challenge. Even when I went and approached the bank, I remember, to get the loan to build the building, I had a difficult time to do it. In fact, we had to mortgage the house and put a lot of, how that goes. It's not easy because it's a high risk business.
Right.
A lot of times you go to the bank and you want to get some money, and let's say they refuse giving you the money. In many cases, they're almost doing you a favor in a way, because they know the risk is so high that most likely you might not be successful in that business. There's a reason why, I guess. At the time, you don't see it.
Right.
At the time, you think, man, I don't know why they're not giving me the money, for example, to open up this business. But looking back, you know what I mean? You look back, in most cases, I would almost have to say, the reason you were not able to get that is because they're almost trying to protect you in a way, because they feel you will not make it,
Exactly, yes. Yeah. They're evaluating the risk. They're looking at all the different options and seeing, okay, how worthy is this business going to be?
Yeah, they have a formula, and I would have to say it's probably fairly accurate, from my experience,
Right.
Like for us, we had to go a different way. We formed a new company, like by mortgaging my house and this and that. I was able to do it, but it was super high risk, But thank God we were able to do it.
But it looks like they got their formula wrong in your case, right? Because
in this case, it was, and I would almost have to say, it's not an easy venture to do, especially what we did. It's a very specialized field in the market, right? So only certain people are into archery.
Right.
And you're competing against some really big companies, But remember, at the time, it was only a pro shop. The risk was the fact that we're in a small community and you're trying to do something kind of specialized, right? Which is high risk.
Got it.
That was before we even formed APA Archery. So we opened up the shop. We had an indoor range, nice, beautiful building, a pro shop. And we started, but it was a tough go to bring people in, you know what I mean, to make ends meet. But I'm always the person that's like to modify things and improve on things. It's just in me. Anything I look at, I put in my hand, I see if I can make it better. It doesn't matter what it is. And my focus was on a bow, So within 6 months after we opened the business on Main Street in Bigger, I invented an arrow rest. Basically, it's a device that holds the arrow on the bow. At the time, when you put your arrow on the bow, there's a chance it always could fall off. When you open the bow, it falls off. I invented an arrow rest that actually holds the arrow on the bow as you draw the bow back and shoot it. So it makes it a lot easier for you, right? Now, with that invention, it started taking me kind of in a different direction. Instead of having a pro shop, we wanted to start manufacturing this item.
Right.
It's a whole new venture on its own,
That's true.
Thought about it. What should we do? So then we decided, okay, well, let's put a patent on this concept. So we patented it. And then again, I approached the bank to see if I can get more money to start a manufacturing business on this arrow rest. Yeah. But I was not they didn't want to take that risk with me.
Right.
By that time, I built some really good connections within my friends and customer base, and I was able to gather some investors to start APA, from people that I knew. So we started a new company called APA Innovations Inc., also known as APA Archery today. And now we are so we started manufacturing the arrow rests right in the same building. We split the building kind of in half, or 1/3 of it became manufacturing. We still operated the rest of the, range and pro shop. But that proved to be very challenging because it's a fairly small item. I think it retailed for like, $30-$40. Right. So by the time you cover all your expenses to travel, and our biggest market was the United States, that's what we focused on. So by the time you travel and do trade shows and overhead and so on, marketing was actually the highest risk, I would say.
Right.
Because it was very hard to compete against some of the big manufacturers that with their marketing, right? So you're trying to do a similar, but you just can't afford to do that kind of marketing, right? Back then, social media wasn't really existent, so you're relying on magazine ads.
Yes.
Primarily, I guess, in trade shows. But anyways, that was around 2002. 2002, we formed APA Innovations Inc. And I would say by 2004, we were struggling. Like, it was to the point where I'm not sure if we're going to make it. It's like there's just too much overhead.
Right. So,
I started thinking, we need to focus our attention to something else because the arrow rest by itself is just not sustainable, I started looking at the bow. I said, what can we do with a bow? Because it's a bigger item. It doesn't get missed as easily compared to a small item, in a store. That's when I started thinking, how can we make a bow better? And I come up with the idea of having a carry handle on the front of the bow. We patented that and started thinking, okay, how can we make this bow? Again, another step that you have to make a compound bow, it takes a lot. So we were able to, I remember it took us 6 months to make our first 50 bows.
Wow.
That's how long it took to do that. And we had to contract the work out because we didn't have equipment in the building to do that. So a lot of the work was done in the US with certain machine shops, and very difficult because you had to coordinate a lot of, shipping from here to there and get this part cut here and decorated here.
I can imagine, yeah.
It was just unreal. So it's definitely a huge step, But we were able to miraculously, get through it. And we've had customers wait on this design. Some of them waited 4 or 5 months to get their bow, which is pretty incredible, And as time went by, we were able to, add new technology. I guess what really made us, unique is that we were offering something that doesn't exist. There's no way you can compete in a market with a similar product. We just don't have that capacity because we're not a volume-based company where you can make so many of them and make a small profit margin on it. We just didn't have that manufacturing capability. So we had to go to the extreme and make something that's unique and special.
Right.
And that's the road that we took, and I'm glad we did because I think that's what made us successful. Is that approach,
So basically, you started manufacturing in-house?
Yeah. It started by actually getting some components made in different machine shops, and then we brought them into our building, and we did the assembly in-house initially. And as we got stronger, we started bringing our own equipment. So now we can actually cut and decorate and do everything. I would say maybe even 80% of everything we make is right in the building now.
Excellent.
Yeah. That made a huge difference for turnaround time, for not having to rely on another source. Let's say they have some kind of a situation. Now it puts you in trouble because you can't get the parts. But if you can make everything right there in-house, that was a huge step that helped us a lot,
Did it impact the cost of putting everything together as well? Like, would it streamline some of the
Yes,
expenses?
definitely. It reduced our input costs because now we can control everything,
course, yeah.
So that helped us tremendously, actually. It was risky to bring in equipment. It's a long-term investment. Some of that equipment is quite expensive,
Right.
but definitely was a good move,
Got it. So that allowed your business to scale more and also get to a point where you are able to produce product in-house, get more control over the whole manufacturing side of things too. And once you started manufacturing the different bows that you had, there's also the innovation component. You have to make sure that you are always updating it and essentially, keeping it current, right?
That is it. Yeah, you know what? I remember too, like every year we'd try to think, okay, what are we going to do for next year?
Right.
You come up with something pretty cool. And then next year you can think, man, I hope we can come up with something else, because people are now expecting it in a way. And our industry is very competitive, especially when you get to the high-end category. People are buying technology. They want something why should I buy this bow when I can buy this other bow that's a 100-year-old company behind it?
That's true.
Right? Why would they take that risk and buy your product in a way? So it came down to number one, I think, still, and I think that applies to anything, is customer service. That is so important. It doesn't matter what field you are in, and that's why I want to say the experience I had, I think, running restaurants helped, I think, us provide a really high quality customer service, and it's still that way today, So your customer service has to be there. And then, of course, you have to have a good product and stand behind your product. Make sure that anybody that's going to take that chance and buy your product, they feel safe that you'll take care of them if something happens or whatever, like as far as warranty or whatever,
Right.
So as far as innovation, for some reason, I was fortunate that I can come up with new ideas almost every year, or if not every second year, I'd come up with something really cool or something very innovative to add to a compound bow that that's not out there today,
Right.
And it's been actually, at a lot of times, like when we stop and think, are we able to come up with something else? But somehow it just comes to me because I think I can't turn it off in a way. I'm always thinking about a bow and how can we change this? How can we make this better? How can we make that? And fortunately, we've been able to come up with really neat ideas. Like, I bet you we've got over, I'd say around 10 different patents on the compound bow right now. And we probably come up with, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 kind of innovative ideas over the time that's unique to APA Archery, right?
Right.
We wanted to make a bow that when you see it, you can recognize it from a distance. It doesn't blend into the crowd. You know that this is an APA. It's no different than looking, say, at a Porsche or a
Yes.
Ferrari. You could tell it's a Porsche from
away.
the first glance, even though, if you look back 50 years back, they still look kind of similar.
Right.
So our bow has that look to it. When you see it, you recognize it, And that's kind of nice because it gives you that identity. People want something different. They want, sometimes not everyone wants the same as the next person, right? They want to have something that they could say, hey, this is
It's unique.
unique,
Yeah.
And that helped us as well,
Do you think that is your unique value proposition when you actually are dealing with customers, that it's a very unique product from that?
It is because it can do things for you in the field that no other bow can do.
Okay.
So
For example?
we have, one of the most innovative ideas was building a carry handle on the front of the bow. So when you're transporting the bow in the field, it balances nicely in your hand. It's almost like you're carrying a briefcase, right? And at the same time, that bridge that we put as a handle, it stiffens the riser. So it allows it to become more rigid. So when you shoot the bow, it has almost no vibration whatsoever to your hand because it's very dead in the hand. You shoot it, you don't know the arrow left the bow. So that's kind of a benefit of that handle. The other thing we put in was a tool center. So you can adjust your nocks on your arrow. So, when you snap your arrow on a string, you can orient your fletching a certain a certain position. We have a wrench built into the bow. You can do that instead of having to use pliers or your teeth or whatever, we have a broadhead wrench, a carbide sharpener to sharpen your broadheads, or knife on the bow. These are some of the first innovations that we introduced back in 2005, 2006.
Right.
From there, we expanded on having our names of the bows are even unique too. We went with a snake theme on the bows because they're stealthy, they're quiet, they're deadly.
Right.
So we went, our first bow was called the Black Mamba, so that was our fastest bow. In fact, 2006, we had the fastest bow in the world already with the Black Mamba bow. And that series still continues today. Our newest bow today is called the Black Mamba Pro. So we tried to maintain a very consistent naming of our product. So now when you hear the name, we found, because we're not as big of a company, we can't change the name every year. Like many other companies will change the name completely on their bow. But what happens, I think, it requires more marketing to do that.
It does.
If we can maintain a similar name, then people kind of start learning that name. They realize, and that's kind of a strategy that we took, and I think that helped us. So going back to some of the innovation, we then added a hook on the top of the bow, and we shaped them like a pair of fangs, like snake fangs coming out of the top of the bow.
Nice.
It allows you to hang the bow on a branch or a tree limb when you go to retrieve your arrows or when you're hunting, like little, you could say, ideas like that actually function. They're not just cosmetic. They're designed to help you in the field. You know what I mean? That's what we were kind of known for, is that a lot of companies they'll change the shape of the bow, make it look nice, but it doesn't really have any functionality. We focused on functionality in the bow, built in. So from there, we added technologies such as we have a weight distribution system, so you can balance your bow better. You can one of the most innovative, I would say, technologies that we have today. We have a patent on the cam lock technology. So in most compound bows, you have to take them to a pro shop. They have to put it in a special press to service it. Let's say you want to change your string or cables or add an accessory to it. We have a patent on a cam lock where it allows you to service your bow in the field, anywhere, at home, without any tools. So it's got a built-in pin you remove out of the bow, and you can lock the cam, and allows you to service the bow, change the strings, cables, everything right in the field at home. So it makes it so functional, so convenient. I would say that's probably one of the most innovative, inventions that we've introduced.
So traditionally, like other bows, you would have to kind of unscrew certain things and kind of go through the whole.
Yeah, what you'd have to do, let's say you have another brand, you'd have to go to a kind of a machine, a pro shop, that squeezes the bow. So it relaxes the tension on the strings and cables so you can service it.
Right.
Where with the APA bow, you can just simply lock the cam in a matter of seconds and take a string off the bow, put it back on, So it's a huge benefit to have that, We also introduced a cam timing system where you can synchronize your top cam and bottom cam. Again, with a traditional bow, you'd have to put it in that same machine, which is called the bow press, and add a twist to the string or cables to shorten it and lengthen it.
Right.
With the APA bow, you can just simply turn a dial. We have a patent on another part of the bow where you could it's called the micro tune. You just turn a dial on the bow, and it synchronizes both cams together when they fire, So again, it's just a really convenient way to do it without special tooling,
Right.
Then we introduced our Pro Connect technology. We just released that this year, actually. That was a big step. We wanted to push the limits to the very high-end client, the guy that wants the very best bow that you can build.
Right.
So we really focused hard in 2023 to develop the bow that we released this year, and it's called the Black Mamba Pro. That bow it's designed to kind of cover the premium, the very highest level of compound bows.
Right.
And we introduced what's called the ProConnect technology. The ProConnect technology gives you like a push button carrying sling. You can plug it right into the bow, and you can carry it over your shoulder for a long distance. And you can just push a button; it releases really quickly when you go to use your bow. And we introduced a new sight mounting system called the ProConnect sight, which makes the sight of the bow in line with the bow, so the balance of the bow is not tipping left and right. It holds plumb.
Right.
When you hold the bow in your hand. And the last thing was a quick ProConnect stabilizer system. So now, traditionally, you have a stabilizer on the front of the bow to balance the bow. We have to screw it in and screw it out. We made it so it's a quick detach. You just give it a quarter turn. You can pull the stabilizer off the bow and put it in really quickly to store it in your bow case. So that was kind of that we called that ProConnect technology, and it was very successful. And the other thing there's so many, I have to stop and think. There's so many things that we've introduced on these bows. It's just unreal.
Yeah. So it's like a series of innovations that have actually allowed you to compete with some of the biggest players in the world to make your bow very unique and very presentable to the audience, right?
It is, yeah. Like, when you take an APA bow, I guess, and set it on the counter and take any other brand and set it beside it, and they're all amazing. They all feel good. They all shoot well.
Right.
But then if you look at what this bow offers to you, it's almost like you're buying a vehicle. You can buy a vehicle that's kind of a base vehicle, or you can buy a fully loaded vehicle, right? It's a big difference.
That's right.
Right? The convenience, this one will have heated seats, power windows, whatever.
Yeah.
And the other one will be like more of just a base. And people kind of can see, hey, I'm getting all these features in a very similar price to this other premium bow. So I think that helps us. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have to ask yourself, why would I not want this,
So the innovation gives you that competitive edge.
Oh, yes, definitely. 100%. I'd say innovation and customer service.
Customer service.
Those two things. And we always push like ideas that nobody's ever done. For example, when you go hunting in a tree stand.
Right.
Normally what happens, you have a rope with you and you tie your bow with a rope. You climb up into the tree and then you pull your bow up. We developed the integrated bow winch that we released here a couple of years ago, where it's a spool built into the bow that you don't even see it. It only weighs 2 ounces. And it's got 24 feet of rope built into the bow. So now let's say you want to go hunting or climb into the tree stand. You just unspool it right out of the bow. You tie it to yourself. You climb up, you pull the bow up, and you wind it back into the bow. So things like that are super unique to the world. Like there's nothing else like that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
It is, yeah. The just going back a little bit, though, I have to say, when I was in the restaurant, we're talking the transition, right?
Yes.
So I was good at what I was doing in the restaurant. Like we ran several styles of restaurants, fast food, steakhouses, lounges, so on. And we were very successful doing that part. But like I said, my passion was not there. A lot of times I'd want to be out.
Right.
In the restaurant business, you're putting long hours. You're busy during, say, supper time.
Yeah.
Right. That's the time you want to be out. Let's say because I enjoyed hunting.
Right.
Supper time is usually my favorite time to be out there, but I couldn't get away because that's when you're busy.
Right.
So it was always kind of frustrating for me. When I got married, my wife Kathy, she, told me, what? Why don't you, if you like that as a hobby, why don't you do that as your business, That's what pushed me. Without her encouragement, I think I probably would not made that move. I don't think so. I would have probably still stayed with the restaurant most likely and just still continue doing this on the side.
Right.
But I think I have to thank her for that push that she believed I'd be able to pull it off because I was so passionate about archery, you know what I mean? So now I'm looking back, it's, you only have to look back to see where you were, where you've come, and we were able to raise our family from this business.
Right.
Now both my son and my daughter just got married this year, so it's been a super busy year for us. They both work with us. Jamal works with me full time, and Gina also works with us. So
Right.
that we've been fortunate to have people that are family members involved in our business too, because you can trust people that you know. We have amazing staff. We're very fortunate to have great people working with APA. We've always been careful who we bring into our team, and I think we've done a really good job now to have a really nice personnel working with us. That goes a long ways.
That definitely does. And I mean, it's one of the recipes of success for any business, right? I mean, you have to have the right team of people, the right support. And thankfully, you received a lot of support from Kathy and your family. This is a privilege that many entrepreneurs don't actually have when they're starting their ideas.
There's no question about that. Yeah, and it's nice to have somebody that's, like I know I'm usually doing a lot of the work, but a lot of it behind the scenes. Kathy helps me tremendously, to make a decision on this or that. Right? She has good sense. She's got a good instinct. Sometimes my instincts are not as good. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll sometimes trust somebody. They seem like good people, and I make a mistake, here and there. But her instincts to be a little bit more accurate than mine, So I learned that over the years too. So
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. No, that's wonderful. That's a great partnership that you have with your family.
it
and
is.
your
Yeah, we're very
so-
very fortunate. Thank God.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and now this year we just introduced a new technology
Right.
just for 2025. It's another tuning feature for the bow to make it a little easier for the customer to adjust the tune of the arrow. When the arrow leaves the bow, sometimes you have the arrow kind of kicking to the left and right. It's not
Right.
coming out perfectly clean. We came up with a new technology called the shift tune technology. Again, it can be done without any special tooling right on the bow, and you can do it in a matter of seconds. So that's another thing that's unique, I think, about anything that we introduce on the APA bow. We try to keep it very, very user friendly and doesn't require special equipment to do it.
right.
Yeah. So, and along with that same introduction this year, we introduced a new bow called the Summit, which is it only weighs 3.4 pounds.
Right.
So it's super light, very compact. So for the people that want to go lightweight, you can throw it in your backpack and climb in the mountains.
Nice.
You don't even know you have it. So that is going to be very interesting to see how it's going to be received. So far, it's doing very well, but it's only been a couple of weeks since we released it. So
Excellent.
yeah,
So from what I see, when you start your business, innovation after innovation, along with customer service and having the right team of people to support the business, has been kind of like the key factors for the growth of APA over time.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say, you almost have to combine several things together for it to work. If you're missing one section, like let's say we have excellent customer service or we have a great quality product, but let's say you're lacking the innovation part, you'll slowly not make it because people kind of expect
Yes.
you to have something better and better and slowly, even if it's a small improvement, it needs to have some kind of an improvement, And it's no different. You can have innovation, you can have a good quality product, but you don't have good customer service. That's also going to impact your company and hurt you,
That's true.
So it almost kind of goes hand in hand, So it's like a puzzle, and all the parts need to be there in a way, right? And if one part of the puzzle is weak, you need to make sure you address that part and strengthen that part to bring it up to standard to match the rest of the
Makes sense. Yeah.
parts, right?
Absolutely. So when it comes to the vision of the business, because you have to innovate every year and you have to stay on top of the trends, where do you see yourself and the company going the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, honestly, I feel that we built probably the very best backcountry bow in the world, right? And I'm a pretty open-minded person. I've been involved in archery for 30, 40 years now. I've shot many brands, and they all make an amazing product, you know? But when it comes to a true, I guess, especially hunting bow, I think we're quite a bit ahead, The only thing that actually restricts this company, I would say, is possibly, I guess, just have to scale it up. That's all you'd have to do. So eventually, once that becomes an opportunity for this company, it would likely be unstoppable, to be honest. It'd be probably at the top,
Excellent.
The weak point we have right now is maybe because our location, we're in a smaller community, we're located in Canada, which is, I love being here, but the biggest market is the United States, and we do sell a lot to the United States. Now, basically, it would come down to just increasing your manufacturing size or inventory and increasing your marketing. And this company's got already what it takes to blow up, to be honest with you, you know?
Excellent.
So it's kind of at that point, we're always working at least 3 years in advance for technology. So we already have the kind of a 3-year plan, what we're going to do for this year. So, which is really great. In the past, you know, we were still struggling. What are we going to do? For example, 2 months from now, you know, we're going to release a new bows. Now we're in a situation where we have, like I said, about a 3-year buffer, right, of technology that we're developing constantly. And I feel a lot better now knowing that's there, right, in the closet, right? So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So planning, properly ahead is definitely very important, and especially when it comes to how your customers are, perceiving the company and so forth. When you are connecting with your target audience, your customers, how are you currently growing your customer base? Do you go to trade shows? Do you? I understand you have like some distributors as well or dealers that are across North America as well as elsewhere in the world. How are you expanding your network?
Okay, so before COVID, we used to do trade shows, magazine ads, some TV shows that we sponsored. And we started getting into social media, right? My wife, Kathy, takes care of our marketing now. And what's happened since COVID, we've basically reduced our trade shows because you weren't able to do any. Luckily for us, that our social media started to kick in, and we've done I think a great job. We have, we have a fairly strong following now on social media. So we have your Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. YouTube, we're just now getting into the YouTube part of it. For some reason, we're a little bit behind on that part, but everything else, that's helped us. I would say a lot. Without that, we probably would have had a tough time, especially if you can't do trade shows and so on. That was maybe our first. We used to also do a lot of dealer tours, drive around. But again, you weren't able to do that. So it's a good thing that we had that social media. Now we built a new website with your help. And that's also showing positive results. We're easier to navigate. People are liking it better. They can communicate through the website where they can ask a question after hours and so on. And so I'd have to say definitely now social media and the website are primary. And now we are starting to go back to do trade shows again.
Right.
Like we've already got 2 scheduled here in Canada, and we're looking to do 1 or 2 possibly in the United States here, coming into early 2025, Magazine ads, I would have to say they're on a decline. I don't think enough return. At one time, that was all we focused on,
It's true, yes.
And I do remember back in 2004, 2005, we almost went out of business. That was before we put the bow. We had only the arrow rest. We thought, okay, let's just try marketing with magazines. Let's put a bunch of full-page ads here and there, whatever. That was a big mistake. We barely survived through that and, paid our marketing on that,
So that was a lesson learned from that period.
Huge lesson learned. Oh, yeah. So then now we're a lot more cautious now on where we put our marketing, dollars, right? So.
Well, I mean, the benefit of marketing online is that you can really track to the penny as far as, what your return on investment is. You can really identify, how your messaging is engaging your audience, as well as how much traffic you're getting, and then ultimately how many sales you're getting. So that's one of the benefits of doing some online marketing that allows you to be able to track everything. So
yeah, and what's kind of neat, before we used to put an ad in a magazine, and you really never know, is it really doing anything for you? You have no idea. And now when we, let's say when we put something on TikTok or Instagram, we almost get right away somebody, talk, hey, I saw this. So you'll get feedback almost instantly. That's effective. It's working,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And like you said, you could track it. Okay, how many people seem to be interested in this product versus that product,
Exactly. Yes,
that helps us too to develop, let's maybe focus maybe more on this item because that's where people seem to be liking, for example,
That's true. So you've been in business since 2002, right? So more than 20 years. You've had a lot of ups and downs. Like, was there a point, you mentioned earlier when you started the business that, it was tough, but was there a point in the middle where you felt, okay, this is something that, is going to be very challenging and we may not make it? And how did you deal with that challenge?
Yeah, especially, like I said, around that 2004, 2005, when we were just focusing everything on the aero rest. And we over-marketed
right
that time. So we struggled heavily, It was, so then that's what led us to develop the bow. And even that, it took a long time to try and get on your feet from that, you know what I mean? So that was, I would say, the toughest time. But it's always been a bit of a struggle because you're trying to grow the company. Right? So, and every time you gain a bit, you have to invest back into the company, whether you're bringing equipment or this or that, you know what I mean? And the thing is, I guess the only, in a way, down part of my company, I would say, okay, is you have to be almost constantly thinking about it. You can't turn it off.
Right.
Like for me, that's why I find it hard for me. And thank God my wife tries to, help me in that area to turn it off, let my, focus on my family, whatever, whenever you know what I mean?
Right.
Because my brain wants to continuously, how can we improve this? How can we make this better? You know what I mean? So you go home and you can't leave it. You need to be able to go home, turn it off, and then go back the next, Monday
Yes.
or whatever, you go back and turn it back on. But that's a challenge for me because I get stuck sometimes in trying to keep, innovating or thinking about this and how can we make this better. So that's I'd say the tough part. With a restaurant business, you could go home.
Yes.
You turn off the switch, you lock the door. You don't have to think.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just come back the next day. It's just a routine. You just do the same thing, This is a little different in that way because we're always constantly trying to make it better, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always pushing the envelope. And I think as entrepreneurs, it's always challenging for us to not think about the business because, it is a passion product as well. I mean, you are really passionate about archery and the company as well. So it's something that always lingers. Yes,
it does. It's just to always come back and take over all the time. You know what I mean? And you have to really manage that,
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the one challenge I face anyway, But in the good part of it, I guess, that's what helped us develop all these new ideas and that because of that. But the downfall is you need to be able to turn it off to enjoy your life too and have a good family connection as well, right? So that's a bit of a challenge, I would say,
Right. So going back over your journey, like if you were to do certain things differently based on what you've learned, what would those key points be? Are there like 2 or 3 things that you would do differently?
That's a good question. I would say, because so much has gone by, it's almost hard to pinpoint 3 things,
Right.
I guess what the most important things, I guess, make sure to surround yourself with good people around you. That's the first step. And try to be careful who should be with you, who shouldn't be with you, I would say, on your journey, right? 2, you have to, I guess, be kind of, realistic that the steps that you do take, you can back up. Like, don't overstep where we almost did that mistake. Like I said, we thought, okay, let's do what the other guys are doing. Let's just advertise a lot, for example. And that was a mistake for us. That almost put us down,
Right.
So make sure you can manage what you risk. Be careful how much you put out. Make sure you can
Manage the risk.
Manage it, right? And then, I don't know. I guess you have to be very dedicated. If you're going to do something like this, you can't do it kind of halfway. It will not work. You have to be like 100% committed to that, whatever you're looking to do. Like for us, if we didn't you have to put the time, like you have to put the time, the thinking behind it. Otherwise, it might not be successful, especially if it's a specialty field like we have made. Like, we're the only Canadian compound bow manufacturer. So that tells you already there's a reason. How come there's no other one,
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely has to be a reason for that,
Right.
We learned it the hard way because we know it was not an easy task to pull off, right?
That's right.
So especially like if you're in a specialty field, I would say it takes more effort to be successful, If you're finding something that's more general that most people utilize, I would say you have a better chance, We kind of went to the extreme, you might as well say. This company is probably one of the highest risk to start from ground up,
That's right. Yeah.
Like if somebody right now told me, you know what, I want to open up a new bow company, let's say, right? I'd probably advise them not to go that way, because unless you have something super unique and even, some companies come into the industry that had a lot of money, a lot of backing behind them. They come in with $4 or $5 million to start, and they make a beautiful presentation. They have a nice looking product. They go to the shows, they get dealers. And usually within a year, 2 years,
you're just not able to sustain that.
They cannot do it. Yeah. So it tells you money will not do it. You have to have innovation in this field. Where we are.
Got it.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if you were to go back, let's say 10, 12 years in your lifetime, what would you tell the younger Nibal? What advice would you give them?
That's a good question too. I guess I would be more business-wise. If you're looking only at as far as from our business point of view, one of the things I would say probably listen to my wife a little bit more because she's told me things over the time that at the time I didn't think would be the way it was, and she had a good instinct about it, and I let it go. Two, just make sure that. Like I said, the same steps would follow me.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd say I wouldn't change very much what I'm doing. I think the path we are doing, we can only do so much of what you have with you to work with, right? Now, I think we managed our output very well. I would say with what we had at hand, we could make this company blow up faster. It would just require a bigger injection of money or something like that would just get you to that next level. But everything, the base is very solid. The roots are very strong in this company, which is good. It's not something that's built on, shaky ground. It's actually built on good roots, right? So I would have to say we did a pretty good job. I don't know if I would change much. Just maybe even, it all comes down more to the personal part of my life.
Right.
I would say more changes there to try to take more time to enjoy. Everything's such a rush, right? Because you're going, and sometimes you miss out on spending more time with family, your kids, this, that. I would say that would be a very important part.
That's right.
I would go back and maybe try to adjust that part of my life, because I was so devoted to growing this company. I think I lacked a bit in that area. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. As founders and as entrepreneurs, we tend to fuel our passion a lot, but we forget our personal, commitments at time, and we lose out and miss out on some of the key things that. That's
exactly
matter,
right. That's the only area I would say that I should have. I could go back and change it, improve that part of it.
Right.
As far as the business part, I feel we've done a tremendous job on it because we're competing against some huge players out there, and we're a very small manufacturer, but yet still able to compete on that level. It's pretty amazing in itself, and with the number of staff that we have, right? So it's pretty impressive that in that aspect,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Nibal, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, your journey, your backstory, and would love to know a little bit more about where can people reach out to you and how can they contact APA Archery.
Yeah, right now, the best way, I guess, just to visit our website, apaarchery.com. We also have a really interesting. We're very fortunate. Kathy's very creative when it comes to social media, so she's got a very interesting, Instagram, Facebook,
Right.
and TikTok. So we have a lot of unique videos and a lot of information on there. You can learn a lot about our product, about our new technology that we offer, and it's very interesting to watch. So I would say that's probably the best way to reach us. Other than that, you might catch us at the odd trade show, but we don't do as many as we used to before. But
Right.
So yeah, other than that.
Excellent. We'll definitely include some links in the podcast over here to your website as well as your contact information and social channels. And again, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Sask Entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a spark of inspiration. To catch more stories and lessons learned from Saskatchewan's business leaders, visit SaskEntrepreneurs.com. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep Saskatchewan strong. Ciao.